I'm on. Hi, how are you? Just a little bit sort of running late and sort of trying to catch up with myself. So, welcome. Let me just switch on a light just to make sure we've got plenty of light here. That's coming on. Great. Well, welcome. My name is Michelle Dutrissa, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up in New South Wales. I just feel like my camera is probably just a little bit low. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust this. I hope it's not making you look too dizzy. You can see my camera phone from up the top, which is going to be filming down on my desk. So let me just adjust that a little bit more. Just hope this all holds in place. There we go. That's better. Okay, so again, welcome. As I said, my name is Michelle Dutrissa. Now, let me just pop on here, just so you know, if you want to purchase any of the products we're using today, you can purchase them through my shop, which is at michelledutrissa.stampinup.net. So you can find me there. And we're going to get started. I'm going to flip my camera down, so just bear with me 1 second. Please, if you're visiting, you haven't been on here before, say hello. You do need to give YouTube and Facebook permission to use StreamYards. So please do that so then I know who's actually leaving comments for me. So let me just turn this camera down so you can see my desk, and I've got a little bit of shadowing there. I am terribly sorry. Let's just move that up a little bit higher and over there a little bit and see how that goes. Okay, so today we're going to make a couple of cards, which we've had so much rain here in New South Wales and Queensland that I thought we needed a few rainbows and a little bit of sunshine just to brighten us all up. So today I've pulled out the designer series paper, which you can get from free in your Sale-A-Bration. Now, this does finish up very soon here in Australia because we've had a little bit of extended time. So if you haven't got this paper and you want to get this, you do need to spend $90 Australian in my shop. It doesn't matter whether it's from the annual catalogue or from the mini catalogue. And then you can purchase for free from the Sale-A-Bration Catalogue this particular paper, and it's called Sunshine and Rainbows. Made up of really beautiful, nice, bright colours. Let me just pull some of them out so you can see. So you've got lovely rainbows, got some stripes, rainbows and suns, rainbows in your blues. I mean, these are good for boys or for girls. You've got some clouds. Have some more stripe. Whoops, that's the same stripe. Hold on a second because there is more stripes in here. Got that one with a diagonal stripe. Let me just see. Got beautiful spots. Now this, you can purchase a stamp set in the mini catalogue that does actually go with this particular. I've already had that one out. I can see that now. That does work with this particular designer series paper. Unfortunately, it wasn't one that I've purchased, just for the fact that at the time I just didn't think I was going to really be doing much with it. But I've got some of this paper, and I thought last night, let's have a play and see what we come up with. Here's some more lovely rainbows. So as you can see, there's quite a bit in this. And these are all double-sided, so when I flip them over, you can see other sides of these papers. And I think that is all of them. I thought there was a wider stripe, though, somewhere. Bear with me 1 second, and I'll just have a quick look. There we go. It's actually, you'll see it when I flip these over. So they're all the designer series paper, and if I flip these over, you can see you've got some lovely other patterns on the other side as well, and there's that wider stripe that I was speaking of. So you've got a really nice mixture of really some pastels and some brights, and even some of the in colors. So a really great range. So today I thought we'd just do a simple card, a card that doesn't need the use of your cut and emboss machine. So if you don't have one, it doesn't matter. You don't need it. It's all cut with your trimmer. And I'll give you all the measurements and everything in a minute. But just some really fun cards. It's going to use up some of these designer series papers, because I don't know about you, but I tend to hoard them. And we've really got to cut them up and start using them. So I just came across a design like this last night on Pinterest, changed it around a little bit just to suit myself, and thought, great, that's going to make some really nice, fun cards. Now, these enamel dots, I will say that on my card, are left over from one of the kits that we have in our kit range. But I'm going to show you how we can colour maybe some pearls and things too, and we might even have some other embellishments we can pop on here. But just really, really simple cards, simple measurements, great for a beginner. You don't need a lot of tools to do this. All you just need is some designer series paper, some cardstock, the stamp set, and the stamp set that we're using is the Biggest Wish stamp set, which is a great stamp set with just, some basic sentiments on it, like, your birthday, thanks, hello, friend, happy, and then some script fonts that can work in well with them as well. So I'm going to show you how to stamp all those together. Now, that's a photopolymer stamp, so we'll be using a foam mat. And I noticed that they've got this mat. I don't know if there's still any left. That's the thing. I've noticed the other day on our clearance rack, they had some of these foam mats. Now, this comes from the Stamparatus. It's just a thin foam mat, and that's what I tend to use. The other thing that you can use is a piercing mat, but you want a mat that hasn't got a lot of holes or indents in it. And I just found that, this is the one that they provide with the Stamparatus for this same purpose. So this is the one that I'm using. So they're the products we're going to be using. They're the cards we're going to make, and that's just the inside of the card there with just a little bit of trim at the bottom. So just a very, very basic card, and I thought we'd make another 2 cards similar to these, but in different colorways. So let me share with you the measurements that I've used, and you can write these down. I will put all this on my blog in the next day or so over the weekend, so you will be able to catch these on my blog. This video is also streaming now to my YouTube channel, so you can come back and watch this on YouTube, or even join us now on YouTube. So we've got a piece of basic, some cardstock here, and this is Misty Moonlight. And I've cut this at 21 centimeters by 14.9. So it's a different direction to what I normally cut, but it's still half your piece of A4 cardstock. It's just, instead of cutting it lengthwise, I've cut it widthwise to give me a card that folds like that. Okay, so this is more of a landscape style card. Now we've got a piece of designer series paper, and I went through and found this lovely one with just little like stars or crosses on it. And that piece there, it measures 10 by 14.4 centimeters. We're going to put a strip of Mango Melody across this one, and I decided to use, I'm going to have to trim this one down, I decided to use a piece of designer series paper for this one. With these other 2 cards, I just used plain cardstock. But this time for this card, we're going to use a little bit of designer series paper just to give us a bit more sun into this. Then I've got a square of designer series paper here, and this is one that just coordinates really well with what we're doing. And I've cut this at 8 by 8 centimeters square, and then I've made a mat for it. Now with this card front here, I've cut this at, as I said, 10 by 14.4. That's about half a centimetre narrower and wider, narrower than our card base front. Now, when I've come to these pieces here, the difference between the two pieces is only 3mm. I don't necessarily always like to have the same increment. I like to sometimes just have a little bit of finer, I don't know, what would you call it, just a finer difference of width there between my square and my mat, whereas on here, to the difference between my designer series paper here to there is more wider. I just think it's a little bit better viewing for the eye. So that's all personal preference, so that's up to you. So I've only just made that one the mat for this piece of designer series paper 3mm bigger. Then I've got a piece of basic white here, which we're going to stamp our sentiment on, and that's 4.5 by 6.5. And then I've made another mat in the Misty Moonlight at 4.8 by 6.8. Now this is the other card we're going to be making, and this time we're going to be using Petal Pink and doing a much softer sort of card. So as I said, this range has got quite a good range, whether you go from your brights even to your darks to your quite soft or pastel or subtle colours. So that's the second card that we're going to be making exactly the same. So let's get started with this one. So first off, what we're going to do is remove that, and we can pop some of these pieces over here for the moment, and we're going to adhere this piece of designer series paper onto our card front. So first off, I'm going to fold my card in half and get my bone folder and just really press that down just to give me a nice sharp fold there. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a mark on there, so I'm going to make that my front because my designer series paper here is going to cover it up. Now what I like to do when I'm using adhering my card front on is I like to use my multi-purpose glue. You can put height and put dimensionals behind it if you wish, but we are going to be putting dimensionals on another part of this card, so I don't think we need to have too many dimensionals. And usually when I use dimensionals, I will also mat something, so it's got a little bit of weight or body in it. So this time we're going to adhere this directly to our card base. Now I like using the multi-purpose glue because it allows me a little bit of time just to be able to slip all of this right in position where we want it. So I'm just going to press that all down, make sure that that is all nice and firmly in there. And I've just realized that the only things I haven't cut are the inserts for the card, so we're going to have to cut those when we get towards the end of our card. Okay, so that's done. Now I did say I needed to trim this piece down because this is actually too wide. I've made it the same width as our designer series paper, so I'm just going to grab my trimmer and trim this down to 14.4. Cut that last night when it was getting quite late, so I just forgot to do that bit. And we're just going to put some glue on the back of this piece, and again just adhere this to the front of our card. Now you could, if you wanted to, use your seal on the back of this, but again I just like to have that little bit of a slip so I can move it into position where I want it. And I'm popping this roughly halfway. You can use your grid paper if you wish, and just give that a bit of a measure and make sure that's nice and straight. I've lined mine up from 20 centimeters as being on my fold, and then 24 centimeters, so 4 centimeters down. So I'm just going to line that up there, and that's that going across there. So again, I'm going to get my square piece of designer series paper and mat. As you can see, this is a very, very quick card to put together. Not much at all. And we're going to pop again a little bit of design multi-purpose glue on the back of our designer series paper and glue that down onto that mat. Not putting too much glue on there because when I press this down, I don't want it oozing everywhere. And again, just move that around until that's positioned where I want that. So really all we're doing at the moment is just layering our paper. And that's going to go around about there. It's approximately probably about 2 centimeters, 2.5 centimeters from the edge of my card. Now these cards will make great birthday cards for, you know, anybody young or old. But I just, as I said before, I've just felt with all the rain and everything we had, we need to have some bit of cheer in our life. And I thought this was nice and bright and cheerful. So this is approximately 1 centimeter from the top and 1 centimeter from the bottom. Okay, so that's going to pop in there. So now we need to do a little bit of stamping. So I'm going to pop the lid on my glue, pop that away. And we're going to be using 2 colours to do our stamping. We've got our piece of cardstock here. And I decided for these colours, since my colours here are Mango Melody and Misty Moonlight, that they were the 2 colours I'm going to use. I've got my stamps here all ready to go. So I've got my happy and I've got my script font in my birthday. So I'm going to do my happy in Mango Melody. And I do need that foam pad, as I said before. I'd like to have that underneath because these are photopolymer stamps. And with photopolymer stamps, you don't have the foam that you do on the red rubber stamps. So you do need to have that little bit of extra padding just to make sure that you get good clear coverage or clean coverage. If we don't have it, you'll be left with air bubbles. So I'm just going to move that up towards the top a little bit, centerize it, and then pop that on there and hold it down for a few seconds. Yeah, so if you're stamping something solid and you don't have your foam mat, what can tend to happen is that you're left with areas where the ink is not meeting your paper because we haven't got the padded surface to allow that all to meet. And hi Jenny, how are you? Thank you for joining us today. Okay, so we've stamped on there our happy, and now we're going to stamp our birthday. So again, just inking this up. Remember, you just need to tap lightly. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to overlap this a little bit. And so our birthday is going to overlap onto our happy. Again, just hold it just a little bit just to let that ink make contact with the surface of our cardstock. And there we are. So we have happy birthday on that one. Okay, so let me just move that out of the road. So we're just going to grab that mat and we're going to adhere our sentiment. Hopefully that is all dry. It doesn't take too long to dry. With all the moisture we've had in the air lately, just might want to be a little bit careful and give it that little bit of extra time. Unfortunately, after 2 weeks rain, even though we had some flooding around here, but not as bad as what they did up in the northern parts of New South Wales and Brisbane. But we've had so much rain that a lot of people have now got mould everywhere. So there's still a lot of moisture in our air. Okay, so let that dry. We're going to pop some dimensionals onto the back of that. So Jenny, where are you? Are you here in Australia or elsewhere overseas? Love to know where you're from. So I'm just going to put 5 on there. You probably don't need to really go 5. You could just do 1 in each corner, but I do like to make sure that my card's not going to flop in the middle. And then we're going to place it over the top. Now what we're looking at is I'm just eyeballing it, but I want the same sort of distance I have between my design series paper and here on the other side. So it's just going to overlap that little bit, just like that. So there's another card. So now I've got to, I was looking at what embellishments I could put on here, and I don't have anything in those two colors. So what I've got here is the classic matte dots, and they come in the black, basic gray, very vanilla, and the white. Now when I can find the opening to get into this, and pull them out, what we can do with these is we can color them. So it's a matter of choosing what color, and I actually like the Mango Melody, but I've got a Mango Melody here in our blends, but it is a discontinued color. So you could also use the Misty Moonlight if you'd like, or even a Daffodil Delight. You know, you just want that bright yellow, but make sure you use your darker of your blends when you do this, and then just give this a good color. And I'm just coloring in a couple of them. A little one there, maybe. So I've just colored 4 here. I'm only probably going to use 3. We're going to let those dry. I'm just going over them a few times just to make sure that we do actually get, whoops, that one doesn't want to stay still. They are a nice bright color for us. So we're just going to sit and let them dry for a little bit, and we're going to start on our second card. So the second card is exactly the same, so I'll come back to those in a moment, but we're just going to be using some different colors. So what I've got here is Petal Pink card base. I've got a designer series paper, which is your Petal Pink with the little white rainbows on it. I've got my matte for my square, and this time this one's, it's got a few little bright colors, but it has got your Petal Pink in it. And then we're going to add a strip of Pool Party, and then again I've got my white with my Petal Pink matte, and the inks that we're going to use for this is Petal Pink and Pool Party. So let's pop this card together too, and then we can finish up the 2 of them together, and we need to cut some inserts. So don't let me forget to do that. So let's fold this card in half. So this is just a really great way of using up your designer series paper. So, you know, you could make a whole stack of cards. I think pretty much each one of these cards, by the time I've done all the matting and everything, you can say that you only need 1 sheet of your cardstock, and you are going to have a bit of it left over. Hi Shelley, thanks for joining. So it's like 3/4 of a sheet. So you need half a sheet to do your card base. Then you're going to be left with another half a sheet, which you can get a quarter of that will get out all your mats, and you're left with a little bit of that left over. And depending on you'd need probably 2 pieces of your designer series paper, because they're only 6x6 pieces of cardstock. So you don't quite have enough. Like I was looking at some of these, you could use one side and then the other side. But not all of these sort of work that way. So you'd probably need, you know, sort of 2 sheets of designer series paper. But I mean, it's just a really good, simple way of just using it up. I know I have got stacks of designer series paper sitting here, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I just thought this time I'm going to make quite a few cards using this. So I'm trying to work out what sort of cards I can make, because as I said, I don't have the stamp set that goes with it. And I just thought this was nice and fun and cheerful. I think we all need a bit of brightening up. We're supposed to be getting more rain over the weekend, so more rainbows and suns now, the happier I will be. So there's our designer series paper adhered to that. We'll grab our mat. We can mat that piece together. As I said, I've only allowed 3mm difference, 5mm difference on the sizes between those two, but only 3mm here. So your mat is only 3mm bigger, just so then we don't have as much of a border around it, because I just really want that to be a little bit of a highlight. Let's put our pool party piece on. I think I've cut this one to the right size. Yes, I have. So I've just used pool party cardstock here. You could choose another designer series paper for this if you wished. And if you wanted to step it up a bit and you've got your cut and emboss machine, of course you could even do some embossing on that strip, which would be quite nice to give a little bit of texture as well. Said before, don't forget, here in Australia, the Sale-A-Bration Catalogue does finish up fairly soon. We're the 11th today. I think it finishes on the 18th. So you've only really got about 7 days left to shop and take advantage of that Sale-A-Bration Catalogue. So let's do some stamping on this. Let me bring in my mat again. Do need to clean off my stamps because we don't want those dark colours we had before. Give that a really good clean. Yes, I need to wash my chamois, but it still works. Okay, so this time we're going to be using our petal pink and our pool party, and this time I'm going to put in petal pink, I'm going to do my happy. Can't find the petal pink, it was right underneath the pool party. So I like to do my lighter colour in the happy because we're going to be overlapping with the darker colour underneath. If we did it the other way and did our dark colour with the happy, then you would not see the lighter colour overlapping the happy. You just lose part of your birthday, the sentiment. Okay, let's just line that up, and we're going to stamp that there. Just hold it down for a little bit. Okay, that's all right, I think. I might flip it over and try that. Oh no, the ink's gone right through. Yeah, it'll do. It'll do. I think my ink is just a little bit, I don't know why it's a little bit runny, but it's just whether it's I've re-inked it. I can't remember re-inking it. Okay, so now we're going to do our happy. And as I said, if you did a birthday, sorry, if you did your birthday in a lighter colour, you just then you're happy, then you just would not see it. You just actually just blend in because we are overlapping the two. So it's easier to overlap a dark colour on top of a light colour rather than the other way around. Let's pop that on there. There's our birthday. So now we can adhere these two together. So I hope you're all finding it a bit of time in your day to do a little bit of crafting. It's really good for our mental health to actually get in and do a bit of this. I tend to forget after a while, and I'm so busy working with my alterations that I forget to actually do a bit of crafting sometimes and have to remind myself. Okay, we're just going to add some dimensionals on the back of here, and then put some another one in the middle, and then find some embellishments, and then we just need to do our inserts. Pop that onto there. Great, and that's quite a subtle card compared to our others. So I was having a look around in some of the embellishments that we've got, and can't remember whether they're more of a blushing bride or a petal pink. Let's have a quick look and see what they look like on there. These are the hexagons that are also in our mini catalogue. So let's just have a quick look and see. No, they are the wrong colour pink. So that's fine. Don't like that on there. So we're going to grab these again, and we're going to colour these. And I do have some petal pink here, so I've still got those drying. So let's just colour some of these in petal pink. Now this is only going to come up very, very subtly because of the fact that it is very, very light. Okay, while we're just letting those dry a little bit, let me pop these ones here, which now should be dry, onto here. So we're going to pop one there. One there. And that little one can just go right in there beside him. So there's that card. So all now have to do with that one is the insert. And let's pop these ones on here. Oops, it doesn't want to come. Okay, let's pop that one up there. It's just got that little hint of colour in there. Another one there. So you can make your embellishments go a little bit further by giving it a bit, colouring it with your blends, and because they're an alcohol, they will actually adhere to your to the plastics. So so there's those two. Now we do have to do our inserts, and I haven't pre-cut them, so bear with me. Let's grab my trimmer and some basic white cardstock, which I have got something right here. So I usually like to cut a few of these at a time. So I always start by cutting my paper in half, either lengthways or crossways. So I've cut that in half at 10.5, and I'm going to cut them off again in half the other direction. And this trimmer can handle doing 2 layers. I'm going to cut that at 14.9. So now I've got 4 pieces there, so it's ready for another 2 cards, but I only need 2. And we're going to trim these down to 10. By 14.4. So that's half a centimetre narrower than your card front size. But these are going on the insert of our card. So let's do this one. 10 by 14.4. And that's the size I usually do for all my inserts, unless I'm doing a piece of designer series paper underneath it. And the other thing that we need before I put my trimmer away is our designer series paper. So let me have a look and see what smaller pieces I've got here. So we have used we've used that one. We don't need those pieces. Just going through and finding the bits left over from what I've cut earlier. So we need that piece and that piece, and we need, oh, that piece is no good. I've cut that the wrong direction. Let's find another piece of that. There we go. That will do. So what I want to do is cut a strip of this at about 1.5 centimeters would probably be enough. And then I'm going to mat it with another piece of this. So if we cut that 1.5, I'm going to cut this one at 1.8. So again, it's only that couple of mils wider. And I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to have those two pieces on top of each other. And then this piece here, again, I need to cut at 1.5. Sometimes you do need to look at where your 1.5, what it's going to give you. And I think that should be okay. Because sometimes you might need to cut it from down here rather than at the top. It just depends on how much patterns, but I've got enough rainbows showing and suns that I feel that I'm happy with that piece. And then this piece here, I'm going to cut it at that 1.8. Because I just want a little bit of this poking through, just as a bit of a trim or a mat. Still need that. So I'm going to grab my seal, which I think I've got hiding here. And we're going to just put some of this down through the center there. And then that's going to layer on top of this piece. Doesn't really show up very well with this one here because they are both navy, but you've got a little bit of the white crosses above it. That's okay. You could have even used one of the plain colors, like the Mango Melody would have actually been quite nice. We might even do that because I've got enough paper here. Let's try that one again. So we're going to grab this piece and we're going to cut 1.5. And then the opposite side of this is actually that Mango Melody bit. So I'm going to just cut another piece of this at 1.8. But we're going to use that side. So there's the first one we've done, which hasn't got much difference. Want our sun's going the right direction. I think this is going to look much better. How's that? That looks better than that one, I think. I think you can see sort of like a little bit of border. That sort of gets a little bit lost. So we'll pop that in our scrap bin. And then we're going to adhere this to the bottom. We're going to trim this down a bit. So I'm going to trim that down now. Actually, we'll glue this piece first, and then I can trim everything then. So we're just going to pop a bit of seal on the back of this one as well. Okay, so there's both of those done. So we need to trim these down to that 14.4, which is the same width of our cardstock. So there's one. Oh, it's not letting me pick it up. There we go. And here's our other piece, 14.4. We've got our 2. Get rid of all these little bits and pieces so we don't have a mess. I generally work in a mess. I've usually got scraps all over, all around me. Nothing's closed up. Everything hasn't got lids on, except for the multi-purpose glue. That always has a lid put on it because I don't like trying to get the goobies out of the end of it. Okay then. Now I'm actually going to use the multi-purpose glue on this. You could use your snail. I just want to have a little bit of slip here. Not too much glue because you don't want it oozing out. Going to pop that on the back. There, just like that. And then we're going to do the same with this one. Got a bit of glue somewhere around here. It's sticking to my fingers. Oops, that one has just moved that little bit. There we go. I can move it back into position. Great. So let's bring our cards back in. That card and this one. Let's open up this. Put some glue on the back. And that's that card. Now let's grab this one. So there's so many beautiful patterns in these papers that I'm sure that you could find lots of different combinations to use them. So, you know, these are just some combinations. This is just, so there's the 2 cards we've made today. And they're the 2, remove all of that. They're the 2 I made last night. And as you can see, because of the beautiful papers, this is all out of one pack. There's lots of combinations and variety that you can make because you have got your pastels and you have, you know, you've got the darker colours. Even though the Misty Moonlight isn't in colour, it's still one of the, you know, quite darker colours. But then also you've got your brights. So, and you can mix and match all the 2 of them all together because the stripes in this has got your petal pink, same with the petal pink in here. You've got your pool party, you've got your so saffron. You know, there are so many different colours in here. You've got your Bermuda bays are in some of these. So there's quite a bit that you could actually mix and match within this range to make a whole stack of cards. So I think I'm going to be busy over the next few days because I'm planning to use up all of that card stock. So I've got plenty of cards to send out to all my friends and family this year for birthdays because it's the one thing I usually don't do. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed that. As I said, I will have this on my blog. You can get all the products from my Stampin' Up website, which is michellejutrissa.stampinup.net. If you have any questions or anything, just send me a line and ask, and I will answer them as best as I can for you. So remember, Sale-A-Bration finishes, I think it's around about the 18th. Let me just pop this back onto me so you can actually see me rather than me just my hands. Okay. Yes, so Sale-A-Bration finishes on the 18th, I think. So if you do want to get these papers, you do need to spend $90. But you could easily do that with buying the stamp set that goes with it, or the stamp set and dies that go with it. It's a bundle. So purchase that bundle. You've got your $90 there, and you can get your designer series paper. Okay, take care. Stay dry. Enjoy the sunshine while we've got it. And I will see you all next Friday for another live. Okay, bye for now.